And I realized that the fingers of my left hand were starting to get warm. It was kind of tentative at first, but soon the feeling of warmth increased so much that it was like I was holding my hand to the gently glowing coals of a campfire. It was that noticeable.
Oh, wow.
Now, we had a sensitive with us. She was on the other side of the circle that we had made around the ghost box. And I said, hey, Stacy, come here on this side of the circle. There's something weird going on, and I want you to help me figure out what's going on. And she concentrated, and she said, yeah, there's somebody holding your hand right now. I said, well, that's pretty cool. And we asked the ghost box who is holding Sylvia's hand, and we got the name Christopher.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On another occasion, I went down there, this is several months later, this is in July, and I was there with another powerful psychic. And she said, Christopher, he's tall, dark, and handsome. He's a young man. He's tall and dark hair. And she said, he loves you. Now, not in a romantic way at all. You remind him of somebody he knew in life, so he's attracted to you. The neat thing is that we went back. Every time I go in the basement, I say hello to Christopher. And he's held my hand several times.
Oh, wow.
But last July, I was down there with a psychic that I know and trust, and I've worked with her before. She was able to tell me things about Christopher that no one had ever told me. And this was absolutely wonderful. This is going to be the next episode of Lights Out. I'm going to make an episode of Lights Out of this, so everybody can listen to this, because it's so cool.
It's sounding... I'm sitting here going, I want to listen now.
I will tell you stories now, absolutely. So we found out that he prefers Chris. We said, what year do you remember? And he said, the last year I remember is 1905. So he was there even before the hospital was built. He was there when it was a tent colony for the care of tuberculosis victims.
Oh, wow.
We discovered that I remind him of his sister. And he said, this just about broke my heart, but he said, I asked him about the dances, and he said we could hear the music coming from the other buildings, but we weren't allowed to go and join the dances because we were contagious. We were under quarantine. We couldn't leave the tent colony. So I said, all right. All right, Chris, this is what I'm going to do for you. The next time I come back, I promise you, I will bring Diane with me again so that we can talk some more. And I will bring you some music to dance to. So the next time we came back, this was probably about a month ago, I recorded 3 ragtime songs on my phone.
Uh-huh.
So I played them for him. And the first thing he said, Diane said the first thing he said when we walked down was he greeted her and said, oh, good, you're back, and you brought my friend with you, meaning me.
Oh, wow.
So that was awfully sweet. So I said, hey, we've got some music here. Do you want to listen to it? And I started playing the ragtime music, and Diane said that Chris was absolutely thrilled. He had this big grin on his face, and he was dancing to the ragtime music. And Diane said he's doing something with his knees, with his hands on his knees. Split second later, I realized, oh my gosh, he's doing the Charleston.
Oh yeah, that was very popular to do that. Oh yeah.
Yes. So I was just thrilled by that. And then there was another couple down there.
Wait a minute. The problem is probably half of the people listening don't even know what that dance was. And very simply, when they were dancing the music, they would take their hands and then swap them from knee to knee. And
right. Start off with your hands on your knees.
Yes.
Bring your knees together and cross your hands over.
Yeah.
So your hands are crossed. And then bring your knees together and put them back on the same knee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a goofy, silly thing to do, and totally a guy thing to do. It was. I think it was pretty much a male dance step. I don't.
No,
Remember
women did it too.
females.
Yeah,
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah. I remember seeing some old movies where they were, on a speakeasy and doing the Charleston and the women and the guys and all that stuff. Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That was a big fad.
Yeah. So there was another couple down there with us that just wanted to see what a ghost hunt was like. And the guy said, well, would Chris be interested in listening to some more modern music? And we're like, well, sure, I guess. So he pulled up a song on his phone. And he said, well, this song is about 15, 20 years old. I think it was Rick Springfield or something like that. So he plays this song. And before, while we were playing the ragtime music, Chris said, I need somebody to dance with. And I said, oh, man, I really don't know how to dance to ragtime music. But we're playing this Rick Springfield song or whatever it was. And it's a pretty good dance song. I went to college in the 80s. I went to make my share of dances. So I'm like, all right, you know what, Chris, I'll get up and dance with you. You just follow my lead. It's not going to be an actual dance. Just do what I do. So we're apparently dancing together. And Diane starts laughing and she goes, he wants to spin you. He wants to twirl you. And I said, oh, I'm not going to twirl with somebody I can't even see. And I was like, all right, fine. So I held my hand up and spun around. And pretty soon the dance was over. And Diane said, he bowed to you afterwards.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
And we went up and explored the rest of the building. We came back down a couple of times. And the last time we came down, now, Gary, this is one of the most wonderful and special things that has ever happened to me. And this is the reason that I wish I was more sensitive than I actually am. Because I know I'm not going to have Diane with me every time I go there. But Diane turned to me and she was kind of translating for Chris. And she said, when you die, I'll be there waiting for you.
Oh, wow. That's heavy. That's...
Yeah. He said, when you pass, I'll be there waiting for you. Just look for the tall, skinny guy.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That was...
I said, I am a happily married woman, but that is one of the nicest things anyone's ever said to me.
That would take my breath away,
It did. It did. It was so incredibly special to know that there was somebody on the other side actively looking out for me. Because I've had relatives that passed, and there are people I'm really looking forward to seeing. But having somebody say, I'll be waiting for you. As soon as you get over there, I will come and find you. That was just amazing.
And, maybe it might happen.
Yeah.
There's a good chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. What did your husband say when you told him that?
Oh, I haven't told him. He thinks it's poppycock.
That's the problem. Like, when I started the show, for years and years, I never told anybody my experiences. I think I told my wife a couple times what happened where I worked at, but just like and I'm not going to go into the story, but I had a friend that was a medical doctor. He just got done doing his internship. He just got his practice, and we went to the Canadian Rockies, and we ran into something that it scared us like you wouldn't believe. And the first thing when we got back in the car after we ran into what we ran into, he said, hey, I am not going to, when you get back, we were good friends. I mean, we went out and took pictures together everywhere. That's what we were up in the Canadian Rockies doing. We were doing pictures of old cemeteries and silver mines. He told me, when we get back, I'm going to kind of hate to say this, but I'm not going to be able to see you much anymore. I go, why? He goes, if this ever got out, I would lose my practice. I wouldn't be able to practice anymore. They would think I am, got a mental issue. And no, he wouldn't have patience, and he would lose what little patience he had because he just started out. And, it's a lot of people are scared to say anything.
Yeah, well, I very rarely tell my husband about things like this because I I don't want to lose my sense of wonder.
Yeah.
I did tell him about a couple of the EVPs that we got from Chris with Diane's help. Diane said, and Diane was just floored by this too, because she said, I'm a medium. I know what I can do, but I'm always having to prove myself to people who don't believe in what I do. And she said it's so rare for me to actually get confirmation on the things that I do.
Uh-huh.
And we did get a couple of EVPs from July that really seemed to, it really gave confirmation to what she was doing. There was one of the EVPs was just stunning. She said, he's a young man, he's about 22. And right after that, you hear Chris's voice say, guess what? 22. So Diane was absolutely charmed by that. So I told my husband about that, and he's just kind of nodding, smiling, and I think he was kind of just humoring me.
Well, you know what? If a person hasn't experienced it, you know, like I mentioned at the start of the show, years went by, and I had people coming up and telling me things, and you know what I thought about them? I thought, man, did I make a mistake behind that person? You know, yeah. But the thing is, like in my case, each time I hired the person, they didn't know the previous people. So, I mean, when they all, and I mean, and I'm not joking, every employee we ever had said something was weird going on. So, you know, if you never seen it, okay, then if somebody tells you about it, you're going to think, oh, wow, this person has active imagination. But if it has happened to you, you know it's real. And that's all I can say is, you know, it's so I can see your husband, he hasn't never had the experience. And a lot of times the spouses don't want to experience that type of thing. So they kind of, just kind of, brush
it's not that he doesn't
off.
want to. He just doesn't believe that it could ever happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm very, very lucky in that I have several friends of mine at work that are very interested, and lots of the people that come into the library know that if they have a ghost story, they can come to me and I will not poo-poo it. I will listen to what they have to say. And there are so many stories that people have told me, so many of the stories that are on Lights Out that are people's completely subjective experiences. And I am not going to tell anybody, oh, what you experienced isn't valid.
Yeah.
That's their experience. It's not my experience. Who am I to say that that's not valid? Who am I to say that experience did not happen? I mean, that would be ridiculous of me to say.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I just, but there's just so many things, like you're mentioning the ghost box, and, when you take a recorder, that's what I want to do. I actually bought a recorder, and my son, helps me with the show here. He produces the show for me, and he handles the internet and all that stuff for me. That's one thing I want to do is I want to take him down some night to the cemetery where I live. There's an old cemetery. It goes back to around 1870s, 1860s. And I want to walk there. I walked there through, during the daylight. But I think it would be kind of, it'd be interesting to do it. There's a priest buried there. And a former governor of our state is buried there. And I would just like to go down there and see if I, hear anything, pick anything up. That'd be kind of, awesome and fun to do something like that.
It would. You totally should.
Yeah, I know. That's what I want to do. So, and I think Kevin might have something to say. By the way, this is my son, Kevin.
Hey.
Hello, Kevin.
Hey, how's it going? There we go.
Doing okay.
Awesome.
Well, I used to torture him. When he was a little kid, he was, he would not behave. And he would go on days of not behaving, and nothing seemed to work. And when some of the Night of the Living Dead, started being showed on TV, The bad thing I guess I would do is we would drive down to the cemetery and I'd go, hey, let's walk through the cemetery. Man, for 2-3